Welcome back to Flying Upstream, Free Spirits. I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest today, Larisa Makuch. Larisa is a powerful speaker, master results coach, and author of Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, Discover the Secrets to More Time, Money, and Freedom. She's helped countless entrepreneurs break through mental barriers, overcome procrastination, and unlock their full potential. She's all about guiding high achieving women to break free from overwhelm and live a life of abundance and purpose. Larisa, I'm so thrilled to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest struggles that many of us face is procrastination, especially as entrepreneurs when you're on your own doing everything yourself. Now, you work with women who are motivated, but also tend to face these barriers that stop them from moving forward. What do you think is at the core of procrastination, especially for high performing women?
Yeah, I think when it comes to procrastination, we think it's just this one. We're often it's presented to us as this one big thing, but procrastination stems from many different places. Often you might learn the habit of procrastination. You might learn how to procrastinate from your parents, your caregivers, or those that are around you, and you might just naturally start to do things just like they did. Doesn't make sense, but we often do things that we're familiar with because they seem normal. We don't think whether they're good, they're bad. Eventually we might go, oh, it's so bad, but everyone else in your world is like, oh, this is so bad, I shouldn't do it, but oh well, I just can't stop. And it becomes this self-perpetuating cycle. Another big thing is a lot of times we identify and adopt this identity of being a procrastinator. And what's really dangerous about that is as soon as you adopt the identity as a procrastinator, you start doing it so much more. And so often it's a sneaky thing, it's a slight nuance. But I had one client who actually showed up on a group call many years ago with a little crown, and she's like, I'm the princess of procrastination. I'm like, stop! No way, girl. You cannot do not think that's a good idea. And she thought it was cute, and she was just trying to be silly. But it was a really big wake-up call to me, because that was the moment I remember thinking, like, I know she's trying to be funny and just make light of it, but there's so much more depth below that. And I think so often in our lives we have these things that actually are a big deal, and we brush them off and we're like, it's not really a big deal. But deep down, there's something holding you back. And so when she started shifting her identity, instead of calling herself a procrastinator and saying, I procrastinated, talking about the habit, she started changing, and she didn't procrastinate as much. There's always going to be things we procrastinate on as business owners. We always have more on our plates than we can handle that's humanly possible. However, I think if we really look at, like, where did these choices I'm making come from? Are they really my choices, or am I just carrying them forward from somewhere? Or am I even taking on this identity and sometimes even being proud of it and joking about it when it's really not serving me? Those two simple shifts can help us flip everything around, because there's no need to put the important things off. And we should procrastinate on a lot of things. I'm the first one to say we should procrastinate on probably 85% of stuff that's presented to us, because it's just not necessary and relevant. But the important things, you better get moving on.
That makes a lot of sense. And I have to believe that procrastination often stems from deeper internal struggles, like fear of failure,
Yeah.
perfectionism, or not feeling good enough. But you also talk a lot about work-life balance, and it's a term that gets thrown around a lot. But more and more people are questioning whether it's even achievable. Some say it's a myth. So what's your take on that, and how do you personally navigate it? How can others start to find balance without feeling guilty?
Yeah, when I hear the words work-life balance, I want to put earmuffs on or roll my eyes. Just truthfully, I don't think we're ever going to be in balance, but we can live a life in alignment. And balance, when you think of balance, you're always like trying to make things equal, like 50-50, and let's just make it perfect. Like, my work is 9 to 5, my home is over here, this is over here, this is over here. And if I have these boxes checked, like a pretty little checklist or a pretty little vision board or a pretty little something, I'm going to be happy. It doesn't work that way. And the fact is, if you think of masculine versus feminine energy, okay, so masculine energy works on like a 24-hour clock. Feminine energy, we've got a 28-day cycle, give or take. We have a lot of room for flow within the course of a month. And there are times where maybe you will want to be in high activity, high work mode, high productivity. And then there's times where you just want to be like lounging on the sofa, having everyone bring you tea. And both are actually good uses of time once you start to learn your rhythms. And so when you know what you truly, truly desire, and you build your life around that, you do things that matter, and you keep doing things that matter, but sometimes you might be more, I'm going to say, productive with those things. And other times you might be more fluid and flexible, but you keep moving forward, honoring yourself and your energy. You're going to feel like you have that work-life balance, because I mean, I like working 12 to 18 hours a day when I'm in the zone. And then there's other days where I'm just like, oh, an email, like just checking the email is like exhausting. Not even replying, just like opening my inbox is just exhausting. And you really need to pay attention to yourself. So work-life balance doesn't work, especially as an entrepreneur, but really knowing what you need at the time, and are the things you're allowing to creep in alignment with what you actually desire, then you're going to feel balanced, because you're going to make progress and you're going to feel good.
That is so insightful. I can really appreciate that you're defining balance as not just day to day, but the long term, looking at it from a bird's eye view, and that zoomed out perspective, that over time, a month, even a year perhaps, that there is balance. And balance doesn't mean 50-50. It means sharing where your energy goes. Sometimes it's working late nights on emails and work and presentation. Sometimes it's taking days for yourself at a spa and sipping tea. Sometimes it's doing family things. And so I really appreciate that insight. Now, in your book, Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, you talk about achieving abundance in time, money, and freedom. And it isn't just for the lucky few. It's a mindset shift. Can you break that down for us, and how someone can begin to stop living in scarcity and start making that shift toward abundance?
Yeah. It really is a mindset and a mind shift. This is a very natural way of thinking, but it's not necessarily common. And I think some of the most brilliant and prevalent things in our lives, they're natural. Like, you know when something's right, and you know when something's wrong. Like, you've had those moments, right? Where you're just like, ugh, but you feel pressured and you do it anyway, and it backfires, and it's terrible, and it's hard, and it's not nice. And then you've had those moments where you've wanted to do something, it's been in alignment, and you may have said no, and then you regret it later. There's only a handful of things I've ever regretted, but years later, I still have some regrets with those few things that were in total alignment and I said no to. And so I think really making sure that we build our lives in ways that are congruent with us. If you want more time, if you want more money, if you want more freedom, you've got to build the infrastructure to support the flow. So let's say the infrastructure is like this cup. It's a very masculine energy. It's very sturdy. It doesn't move very much. It's not very fluid. But then the feminine energy is more like the water in the cup. There's flow, there's movement. You could put different things in. It's a very creative energy. And when you create some structure and flow in your life, it's going to start setting you up to attract more time, money, and freedom. And it's not like a quantitative thing in the beginning. It's very qualitative. So let's say something as simple as schedules. Okay, entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur, even if you're a mom, if you're a human in the day and age, you probably have a schedule. If you don't have a schedule, you should have a schedule, and then you might use it. But what's really helpful, So when we plan our weeks and our months, we try to keep the same types of time blocks. We have certain days for certain types of activities. And so Wednesdays, there are marketing days. And that's we do our best to keep all marketing activities on Wednesday. There might be little things throughout the week, but the big things happen on Wednesdays. Mondays is a very client heavy day. Fridays is a flex day. So we really build the structure and the system so that we can put different things into the bucket, and what goes into those buckets can vary week by week. And sometimes it might be one type of activity, another time it might be a totally different type of activity, but there's always room for creativity. And all of the actions are aligned with our dreams, right? We want to help women live better lives, dream better, expand the possibilities of what could be. And so we keep checking in each and every day. Did that answer your question? I can't quite remember what that was.
Yes, the mindset shift toward abundance. I think that's brilliant what you're saying, which is that it is that schedule. It is, when I was in the working world, we would call it time boxing. So we would say we have an hour to work on marketing today. And then that's it. When you're done, you're done. You don't obsess about it. You don't work all night about it. You just do your very best for an hour and then it's done. You move on to the next thing. And even though it's a little frustrating at times, you want to go more. Oh, I got an idea. I can keep going. But the reality is to have that balance, not just work life, but even within work, a balance. You need to shift that mindset to more of what you're saying. Now, you've also shared 3 simple steps to overcome stress and overwhelm. And I love this because it gives listeners actionable ways to deal with these challenges. So let's dive right into step 1. What's the first thing someone should do when they're feeling overwhelmed by their to-do list or the weight of their responsibilities?
Take a breath. Like we call it calm down to speed up. And when you're rushing, there is no possible way that you can move forward effectively. If you're trying to look at everything in front of you, you're not going to be able to see it and you're not going to be able to decipher it. So we say calm down to speed up. A couple of the things that we tend to do is meditate. Why? Because when you're done, you're clear-minded and you focus on one thing at a time. You don't need to try to do 10 things at once. You're just oh, and now this. Or even breath work. I have one client, she was mentioning just this past week, she's like, whenever we do breath work on our calls and then you ask us to answer a question, I actually answer the question and I don't look at 12 other things in my house. It was such an innocent comment and so profound. We do a little breathing. It's not rocket science, but we did some strategic breathing and it helped calm her nervous system and get her focused. And so when you calm down, you have the ability to speed up. The other thing I would say, overwhelm comes when you have too many things in front of you. It's just, you have too much in front of you and you're thinking about it all at the same time. And when you're trying to look at it all at once, it's kind of like a soap opera drama playing inside your head. You don't know which way to turn, and it's very kind of exciting, but also super stressful. And so get it out of your head and onto paper. Get it out of your head and onto paper. And so when you have huge chunks of information, just write whatever's in your head down on a paper. And you're going to notice that maybe you'll want to take action on some things. Maybe you won't. Maybe you want to organize. Maybe you won't. Maybe all you need to do is just get it out of your head so you free up your mental real estate for whatever is your next step. Because ultimately, there's a book by, what's his name? I'm just looking at my bookshelf. I think Dave Crenshaw. And he wrote a book called The Myth of Multitasking. And it's a teeny tiny short little book. I love it. I recommend it all the time. But he says, basically, multitasking doesn't work. And we're constantly trying to do 10 things at once. But there's power in one. And when we keep things simple, then we have that ability. So calm down to speed up, get it out of your head and on to paper. And then I think another big thing that's not necessarily common is just stop talking about it. What you focus on expands. And if you say, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, you know what you're going to get? God's going to say, oh, okay, you just placed an order with Universe Prime. I'm going to deliver you stress. I'm going to deliver you overwhelm. What else do you want? I'm frustrated. Let me add a layer of that. And so often, if you starve the things you don't want to have attention and flip the switch and actually decide what you want, maybe, and that doesn't diminish that you do feel stressed, but okay, maybe I do feel stressed right now. Okay, I'm going to admit it. But what do I want to feel instead? Let me take a breath. I want to feel more calm. Wouldn't it be nice if I felt calm? I want to feel clear-headed. Ooh, that would be really good. You're overwhelmed. Okay, instead of overwhelmed, I'd like to feel present. Maybe I'm overwhelmed because I'm trying to do 10 things for 10 different people. I just want to be present. What do you want instead? And focus on those things, or focus on moving in the direction of those things, and all of a sudden you feel better. And then the stress and overwhelm just starts to melt away. And the feeling can go away fairly quickly. Your situation may not change drastically, but within a matter of minutes, you can feel better, and then you're in a resourceful state to actually move ahead.
I love that. It's so practical and so powerful. Was that kind of going into the second step of what your 3-step is?
Yeah. So the first step, first step was calm down to speed up. Second one was, it came out of me. Oh, write it down, get it out of your head and onto paper. And then the third one is, my goodness, I didn't
Stop
write
talking
this
about
down.
it.
The third one, what you focus on expands. So focus on what you want, not on what you don't want.
That's amazing. I need to write these down myself. I feel
Yeah,
like
I'll go take some notes. I like writing things down because they stick in my head.
Yes. Well, I can see how these 3 steps can truly help someone overcome that overwhelm and help them feel in control again.
Yeah.
Which is just so powerful in itself. And Larisa, I've loved everything that you've shared today. You've given us such actionable advice, and I know our listeners will be able to take these steps and apply them immediately. Before we wrap up, I want to end with this question. You've been through a lot of transformation in your own life. For you personally, what does living a life with purpose and abundance look like? And what's the first thing someone can do to start taking steps towards that today?
I think that's a really, really great question. And when it comes to a life of abundance, my definition is going to be very different than your definition. And really tuning into what you truly desire is absolutely key. And realizing that the possibilities for anything you conceive in your mind can turn into reality. As soon as you think a thought in your mind, as soon as you have a little inkling and draw attention to something, maybe you see someone buying flowers at the grocery store and you're like, oh, I wish I had flowers at home. Well, that's actually a desire. And as soon as you have that desire, you might want to start paying attention to some of these desires you have, instead of being like, oh, well, I'm just not going to do it, or I don't have time, or someone else should be bringing these flowers to me. Well, what if you're like, you know what? I'm connected to flowers. I would love to have flowers in my life more of the time. So maybe you buy yourself flowers, or you get flower delivery, or you say, hey, hubby, you know what? I'd really like flowers. I think fresh cut flowers suit me. And you ask for it. Really knowing what you truly desire and what matters to you, and being willing to dance with those possibilities is a game changer, because the fact is this world is full of abundance. There are so many possibilities, and so often we just shut the flow down because we don't have the courage to admit we want something. It's not about just getting a lot of garbage and junk and expensive fancy things. Sure, I am the first one to say, you want a designer handbag? Go for it. You want to go have a luxurious photo shoot or shopping trip? Absolutely. I raise my hand for all of that. But that's not the primary source of abundance for me, the primary source of abundance is listening to myself, knowing what I want and acting on it. That makes me feel so rich, so powerful, so present, so connected. And sometimes it's something as simple as I'm going to go back to bed and I'm going to cuddle my son. He comes to me and cuddles on the chair. I'm like, let's go to bed and cuddle for 20 more minutes. We did that this morning. I'm like, it's okay. You'll get to school. No worries. I think you need some cuddles. And I'm like, let's go cuddle. Great. Simple. That was totally magical. And then other times it might be something for business when you're truly present in serving a client, when you're in any aspect of your life, you can have it all. You've just got to be willing to ask for it.
That is so powerful. I love that. Be willing to ask for it. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Larisa, for sharing your wisdom with us today. This has been such a powerful conversation. For everyone listening, be sure to grab Larisa's book, Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, and check out all the amazing resources she has to offer. Larisa, it's been a true pleasure having you on Flying Upstream, and I know our listeners will leave this episode feeling more empowered to tackle procrastination, stress, and start living with purpose and abundance. And for everyone listening, thank you for joining us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use a little more confidence and clarity in their life. Until